allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next thing we have on the agenda is approval of the agenda, and I believe we're going to make a couple of changes.
Yes, I would like to make a recommendation that we do have some visitors that would like to speak to the board tonight, so they have to fill out the proper paperwork, and I'd like to move them next on the agenda after approval of the agenda. And I'd also like to move our executive session to beyond to the next thing past student staff board recognitions. That way we can go ahead and recognize people while they're in here, and then we'll go to a break, and when we come back from break we'll go into executive session. I'd like to make those two adjustments to the agenda.
I move that we allow our visitors to speak right after this approval of agenda, and we move the executive session to after item 8, student staff board recognition.
All right, motion by Dr. Doster, seconded by Mr. Evans. All in favor, signify by raising your hand, and that is unanimous. All righty, first either Ms. Hartman or Ms. Shaw, if one of y'all will come address the board. And I think y'all have read the rules, and we very rarely have had anyone ask to speak to us, but
well, I appreciate that.
You got to turn your volume up.
I got to turn the volume up or move the microphone. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Is that better? Okay. I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak. We had requested from Mr. Lindsay originally use of the Monroe Academy gym when it was not in use, and then he forwarded that to Mr. Daniel, and the answer that we got was no. And my appeal to the board is just on behalf of all the homeschool children in Monroe County. We were trying to get a list of how many homeschool children there actually are in Monroe County, and we can come up with that number. Apparently you have to go to the state to get that now. But just off the top of our heads, there's over 25 families. 12 of those families are already involved in the organization where we have a basketball program. And currently what we do is we drive all the way to South Winter Robins, and we pay $78 an hour to rent out a college gym. And all we're asking for is the ability for our children and the tax money that we pay year after year after year. And we didn't total that up either, but I can only imagine what that looks like over the time span of all the families that homeschool. But the petition is for us to be able to use the gym when it's not already in use. One of Mr. Daniel's concerns was that you don't have the staff available for that. We would be happy to pay for a staff member to be there. I even have a contact that used to work for the Monroe County school system that said she would be willing to be an on-call person to be available at the gym when we're there, and we could pay whatever that costs. So it's not, I understand the challenges because I've never tried to juggle that many different events and that many different venues. But I'm not asking that we move any events around that are already there. I'm just asking for the ability for our children to get the same consideration. We homeschool for a variety of reasons, but we feel like the tax money that we pay into the system for the school system, that we should be able to have some ability to utilize the facility.
I guess I can speak to that a little bit real quickly if the board will allow me. Part of the problem with doing that, obviously we want to accommodate as many children as we can. We are in a situation right now, and let me kind of explain how we're set up. So we've got, right now, we've got several different gyms, but we've got tons of sports. I mean, we're not just talking basketball when we're talking about during basketball season. I mean, we have cheerleading that uses gyms. We have, when we have like rain out days, see, our gyms serve as backups. Like when we don't have an indoor facility for rain days. So like during baseball season, for instance, we are right now, we've had rain days for like a week. we haven't had regular practice because they can't go outside. So they go to different gyms around. So one will go to the Hubbard gym, one may come up here. They go to different places around to practice those gyms. Now, the one thing that I think, being the superintendent, what we don't want to happen is to overextend ourselves in the fact that we've actually set up the gym and somebody's leased it or using it. Then our kids might need it, and then it's already used up by somebody else that's actually signed up to use that facility. It happens a lot, more than you think. Even like football, we don't have anywhere to go, so like the days that they can't practice, they're either gonna stay in the field house or they're gonna go to that little gym that's behind us right here. That's why we've done it for so long. We'd love to have a facility that we could use in case of rain and things like that, but that's all we can do at this current time. And the way we're set up, because we do want to utilize the facilities, and really what we've done to try to be more accommodating to the community is what we've done is actually partnered with the Monroe County Recreation Department. So we are on standby to allow any spillover for practices and games, like during basketball season, that actually comes and they use our facilities. They called the other day, we set it up through Mr. Lindsay. We had a group that came up that practiced in one of the gyms from the rec department. So what I don't want to do, and you know, we try to serve as many as we can, but what I don't want to do is overextend ourselves so that we don't serve the kids that we've got the stuff here to serve. So I would make the suggestion, I don't know if it can work, but if you kind of went through the rec department and we did it that way, is there any way that they could, because typically any times that we're not in use, we're basically allowing the rec department that access, so to speak. And so to allow somebody else a third access would kind of be, I'm afraid it would never be available to use it when you wanted to use it. That would be the only problem that I foresee going through that route. So I don't know if the board members have thoughts on it. I mean, I wish we had enough facilities that we could do as much that we can. And there are going to be times it's empty, but there are going to be times that we're going to have sports and things that will need to access to that gym. Like over at the education center, we have the junior ROTC, and from time to time they have to have activities in there if it rains, like they're training for a competition. They're going to come in and use that gym. During basketball, I know that we rotated using the main gym, Hubbard gym, and they use that gym over there too. So I'm not saying it's impossible, it's very difficult with the situation that we've got set up and trying to handle, and we're fixing to add more sports in the school system next year. So right now, I don't know if I could think of a way to do it and keep the peace with the people that we've got to use the gyms. We could try to do it. So
my question would be, what are those time frames? Because we practice as late as 9 o'clock at night. So, and we're a little bit like the Marines. We have to go where we have to go. And so for our practice, and I wasn't even requesting practice time, but for our practices, we are floating from one church to another based on their availability. And like I said, sometimes we're practicing until 9 o'clock at night. So I'm like I said, sure that it's a challenge to juggle all that, but all we're asking for is time that it's not already in use. And I understand the rain thing, right. But do you practice from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock? Do you have anybody that would utilize it during those times?
The only thing I would call, but I'm just speaking from being a former coach. I would hate for me to plan something and something happen, and I want to use the facilities that are here for married persons and middle school athletes, and it not be available. That would be for me as superintendent, that would be bad news. If a coach went somewhere and then we've leased it out or something that they need to use the gym, that would be the only thing that would kind of be, as a superintendent, hard for me to explain to the board that a coach is complaining that they couldn't use the gym because it had already been leased out for a group to play in it. Those are some of the challenges we have. I'm just being honest.
Well, and I appreciate that, I do. And I'm just trying to figure out a way that we could work that out.
Right.
Where it would be something where we could service all the homeschool children as well. And I would just assume that there is a schedule that's already put together. To have to manage everything, there would have to be a schedule that would already be put together. We wouldn't look at times that was already in use.
Right.
We were only, our initial request was just for games,
Right.
which would be 10 games, 12 games tops out of the whole season,
Right.
which doesn't really overlap with other sports that much. It's a very short season.
I don't know, at this time, I probably would need to see if you could give us maybe what a schedule would look like to just look at it, but there are challenges, and the other side of this that the board members need to be aware of is that, and the homeschool children, they do live in this county, the parents do pay taxes, but we do have other people that request to use the facilities too. And so that's the only thing that we've got, because we've got to be consistent with what we do with the public. And so if we offer an extension to host, let's say, a league games for the homeschool, then if we have another county, say that there's another set of parents that's not in the rec department, and they want to come and use the activity, the gyms and things like that, the fields or whatever, I think we'd have to be consistent in trying to allow them the same leverage. And that's when I say it becomes very difficult to shuffle and juggle all those things. It sounds pretty simple, but all of
It
them.
doesn't sound simple, I know it's not
But,
simple.
you know, you're talking about when you have to open a building, we have to have somebody there to open it. They gotta be there to make sure it's safe, they gotta close it down. Because typically all of our coaches have the keys, but anybody that's gonna be using or leasing, somebody's gonna have to come open it. And they're gonna have to shut it down. So there are lots of barriers. I'm not saying that down the road something couldn't be worked out. Because, again, the rec department, we hadn't mentioned, we've granted them the ability to do, when we have overflow, we have time, they want to use it as well. So we kind of partner back and forth between those public entities, which is another thing that kind of causes, you know, we're trying to give them gym time, because they have, right now, they only have one gym, and they're trying to use all of our gyms because they have practice for,
At least they have one.
yeah.
At least they have one. So what I'm hearing you say, and I get it, but what I'm hearing you say is the recreation department can use it. This was your argument, right? If you let us use
Well,
it,
we have
somebody
a
else can, but you're
partnership,
saying the
basically, we have an
recreation
understanding and an agreement with the county to help during times when they need access to.
can't. But those are public school kids, right? Or they're the younger kids. My younger kids could play rec.
Right.
My older kids can't, because there's nothing available for them.
I think they have rec for all ages, I think, I'm missing, I don't know.
They have high school basketball at the rec department?
Yeah. I don't know, I mean, I can't
I
speak
think
to
they
that.
aged out.
What gym are you wanting to use?
The Monroe Academy gym was the gym that we requested use for, because we felt like that was a gym that was used the least.
Do we have a schedule for that at all?
Again, I don't know how to explain this, we don't have, it's hard to have a set schedule because there's just so many people using the gym. So like, we have, during basketball season, there's a rotation, and the basketball coaches work to do that rotation because they got games with, we've got C team, B team, varsity games, and then we've got to have practice when they're playing a game in a gym. All I'm saying is we're flooded as we are, and so we're trying to add another entity. I think part of my job as superintendent, my first job is to provide people that are in Monroe County schools the opportunity to use that facility. Now, after that, if we have the availability and we can work through doing that, I'd be glad to look at it, but I'm just saying it's gonna be hard to do, like to set, for you to send the schedule, and we're gonna have, I don't know that it could work quite like that, because again, what I'm fearful of is, like a lot of times, what if we schedule it and our team makes the playoffs, and they're gonna need a place to, we've got cheerleading practicing here, they need to use that gym for a playoff, and then I call and I say, look, we got our teams, and then they say, well, we've got the gym, and then we don't have a place to practice. I think it's gonna come back and look pretty bad on me as a superintendent and bad on the board if our people at Mary Persons and Monroe County Middle School don't have a place to practice. That's my only concern.
And I understand that, and that's not something that we don't already encounter, right? We've got it scheduled at the church, and the church says, hey, we've got something going on, you can't come. And that's how we've always operated, so if that was something that happened, then we would just sort it out on our end and not, we would never try to take that away from you when you were already using it. Or if you had a specific need that came up, we would make accommodations for that. We're not asking to take it away from the children in the school system that are not being homeschooled, because our kids are in the school system too, but we were just asking for the opportunity to use it. And as far as the schedule goes, we were not wanting to say, here's our schedule, can you fit us in?
Right.
We were asking for a schedule to say, how can we fit in without having to ask you to make any accommodations for us?
Okay. I think we could take this under advisement, maybe discuss it. Did the board members have any comments or thoughts?
Do you have any liability insurance?
We do, we're bonded.
Okay.
That would be my question.
And these, the homeschool children that you are over, they live in, how many of them live in this county?
There are 12 families that live in this county, and there's several of us. Ramona would be one of those families, that we've raised our kids here, so we've been paying property taxes for a long time.
We can discuss it further, you know,
That's what you have to do. I don't think you can work it out between you. Not tonight, you could. You have to get back with her and work the schedule out, and, work it out that way.
If they're gonna work, if they're gonna have their facilities late, I mean, our students aren't gonna be out there at 8, 9 o'clock, I don't think.
But what if they need to be? That's the thing I'm saying. It's easy to say that. That's the only thing. I have to be devil's advocate because I've been a coach and I know how those schedules work. And you just have to be real flexible, But I'd be glad to sit down with you and look at a schedule and see what that might look like. But it would have to be very flexible. That's all I would say, because our
Are
kids.
y'all flexible?
We've always had to be flexible. It's not, so I'm not asking for anything different than we already have.
So if you get a call and say, hey, y'all can't practice tonight, our kids are gonna be practicing, you're not gonna be ill about that, right?
No, we wouldn't be.
All right.
All right.
We'll take that under advisement and we'll call and set up an appointment, kind of sit down and kind of talk through what that could look like.
Okay,
You good?
thank you.
All right.
thank you. Ms. Hartman, you.
Thank you. My name is Ramona Johnson Hartman. I was born here in Forsyth, and my grandson represents the 6th generation here in Monroe County. So we definitely, my heart is for Monroe County, and we, like Dee Dee said, we're not trying to take anything away from children who are in the public school system. We're just asking for our fair share of you being able to utilize facilities that are available. And as she said, we are bonded. It is not just a bunch of families that got together. It is an organization that has been bonded, met state requirements. It is legitimate CGA organization, and we have certain requirements that we have to meet. So we would definitely appreciate you considering allowing us to use some of the facilities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All righty.
Is there something that we can do to see if, make sure they can come up with a schedule to make this happen?
I think we're gonna need to know what a schedule looks like to see if we can try to make something work. I have to be, I think when I do that, I'm gonna come back before you as a board and ask for a recommendation that they be able to use it, because again, we get tons of requests from entities in Forsyth that are taxpayers too, and I just wanna be fair. And so if we're gonna be consistent, we just need to do it the same for everyone. And once we do that, I'd ask for a vote of the board to recommend, if anybody might make that recommendation, that we allow homeschool children access to, gyms, or for whatever season. I think we've got to be direct in doing that, because if not, then what I'm saying is you're gonna have another group coming, I know.
We can do that now based on scheduling and approval of that.
But we don't know what the schedule is. Are we just gonna approve a carte blanche that we're gonna approve
They're gonna
whatever
work
schedule?
around our schedule. They said they'd work around our schedule.
Let's give them a chance, let's get all the information as to what kind of overlap we have with our basketball schedule and all other sports, and just Mike said, Dr. Hickman indicated he's willing to sit down and discuss it with them. So, and anyhow, board policy, Hence, I think pretty much statewide, the superintendent is in charge of facilities. So let's wait till he can make a recommendation.
That'll be fine.
All right, thank you. Thank y'all for coming.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes, we've got two sets from February 11th and March the 3rd.
March the 3rd is up now. They have been posted several days, so hopefully you have a chance to look over them. And then we've got the next from February 11th.
Okay. Motion, okay. Motion by Ms. Bilderback, second by Ms. Pettigrew, that the minutes be approved. All in favor signify by raising your hand, and that's unanimous. Consent items, we have fundraisers and fundraiser request and field trip request.
All right, we've got 5 fundraiser requests, not so many this time of year. 2 from Hubbard, 2 from KB Sutton, and 1 from the middle school. And we do have 1 field trip request here with the golf team going to Georgia Southern for a golf tournament. That will be on May 1st. So we would ask that those things be approved.
Go back to the fundraisers.
Move to fundraiser request and field trip request.
There we go.
We have a second on that.
All right, got a motion by Dr. Doster, second by Mr. Evans, that the consent items, including field trip and fundraisers, be approved. Any discussion? Being none, all in favor signify by raising your hand, and that is unanimous also. Okay, staff and student recognition.
All right, at this time, I would call on Dr. Finch from the high school to come up with his student staff recognitions.
Thank you, Dr. Hickman, and members of the board. Thank you all for having us here on recognition night for Mary Persons High School. For staff and student recognition, we have 2 recognitions that we want to do, covering 3 students. We have an academic portion, and we have an athletic portion that we're going to highlight here. So what I want to do first is I want to call up our students and Ms. Griffin, because I want everybody to look at you while I'm talking about you. So I have Sarah Boyer and I have Elizabeth Bennett. They're coming to the front. And their teacher is so young, she kind of looks like a student too, so she's going to walk up here behind them. This is Miss Lauren Griffin. And these 2 ladies right here were named as the regional winners at the Georgia College and State University Science Fair. And by winning that, they also are earning a trip to the State Science Fair, which is going to be held at UGA later this month. Or is that in April? This month. It's later this month. And then in May, they have automatically qualified for the National Science Fair, which is going to be in Anaheim, California. And so Sarah, raise your hand so everybody knows who Sarah is, and Elizabeth, raise your hand. It's been a while since we have been major players in the science fair game, and a lot of that has to do with Lauren Griffin, raise your hand again, her leadership and guidance over these 2 students. And so Ms. Griffin, I'm going to kind of let you come up and give just a little bit of the overview of what their project was and kind of what all entailed in that, because I need everybody to understand how big of a deal this is.
Come on, guys.
So their project, they did the effects of cobalt on Daphnia magna. Back in September, they came up to me, they're both in my AP Biology class and in Bio Club, which is a new club this year at MP. They came up to me and they said, hey, we really want to do science fair. And I was like, okay, well, haven't done it before, but we'll give it a go. And so we kind of worked together to come up with what organism we were going to use, and they decided on Daphnia magna, which are these tiny little water fleas that are in both freshwater and saltwater ecosystems. So over the course of the next few months, we learned much more than we ever thought we would about these tiny little water fleas and how to raise them, and then tested different levels of cobalt solutions on their populations and heart rate and things like that. What they used as kind of inspiration for their project, before we knew it was even going to be such a community-wide issue, was they looked, they themselves, and I helped them, but it was all them, read through a 500-page water quality report with Plant Share, and used that information to decide, okay, what kind of metal would we like to look at. We chose cobalt, and then simulated some of the cobalt concentrations that were found in some of the ash ponds. So it was very relevant. It was, very real world, especially with everything that's going on right now. And all I can say is that I know they learned a lot about the scientific process. I learned a lot about working with such a big project, and I'm really amazingly proud of the hard work that they put into this. They absolutely deserve all the awards that they won at the science fair, and I'm really excited to see where it goes with state and with nationals. So it's all of them. They did a great job.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Elizabeth. Snapping around.
Yeah, we'll do this one, we'll come back.
Oh, y'all are getting the best profile.
Definitely don't want to enter a Jeopardy contest with either of those two, I can tell you that. The next student that we want to highlight and our staff member is one Justin Wachtel. So Justin, come on up. And his coach, Lanisha McElhaney. So a lot of you know Justin Wachtel. If you don't, now you can put a name with a face because I know you've heard his name. Justin is the Quad A state champion for cross country this year. And cross country is actually a fall sport, but our recognition night for the board is not until March. And so we wanted to be able to highlight his accomplishments and also highlight his coach. But if you keep up with Justin, he has a lot of other accolades other than just the Quad A championship. He's a very accomplished student in our school too, but let me just put a couple of other highlights out there that we know about Justin so I can brag on him a little bit more. He was undefeated in the regular season, obviously. He was the winner at the Wingfoot Cross Country Classic. I think that was held in Atlanta. And he placed fourth at the Foot Locker South Regional, which covers 13 states. And only the top 10 in the regionals actually advanced to San Diego. And then he placed 37th there at the Nationals. He was nominated for the Gatorade Athlete of the Year for Georgia. He was nominated for the USA Today High School Sports Cross Country of the Year, and that will be announced on May the 11th. And he's qualified to run for the New Balance Indoor Nationals, which is in New York, and I think that's coming up this week, Sunday. But the best stat about Justin Wachtel, even after all those, is he's just a junior at Mary
I think when he was a freshman, he was third. Then he was second as a sophomore, because I was there, and he was about trying to jump over that guy coming down there at the end. And then he won it as a sophomore, won it as a junior.
Well, I can tell you an amazing feat. You know, I see him every day asking, how many miles we're going to run today? And he's usually got a different number because he's got a training regimen. But I was coming back from a meeting in Bibb County one afternoon, and I mean, he's like Forrest Gump without the beard. I mean, you always see him running. So I came to where 18 dead ends to 41 right there where the ROTC campus is, an alternative school, and he was flying past there on the sidewalk, and so I took a right, and I'm headed back to Mary Persons, right? So I come down, I go in north on 41, and so I actually pass him, and he's still running real fast, and I get up here, and I take a left to come in right up here at the Fine Arts Center, and then, of course, you got to go over a couple of speed bumps, and just a few, and it winds a little bit back there, and then I park down in what they call the lower 40 at Mary Persons on the main campus. I park in the lower 40. I get out of my truck, get my book bag, I climb up the hill, and I'm right before I'm fixing to cross the sidewalk, runs right in front of me. So from the time that I saw him up at the former MA campus to the time that I could get out and almost get in my office, he beat me there, and I was driving a truck. So Justin, we're really proud of you and all the accomplishments. We look forward to more things that are going to come from you, and we're proud that you go to Mary Persons. You're from Monroe County. And Coach McElhaney, the same for you. Thanks for all that you do for our cross-country runners, not just Justin, but all of them. Thank you.
Congratulations, guys. Thanks, good job, Coach.
All right, service awards are next, and service awards in our county are awarded to employees with continuous completed service to the system in 5-year increments. These awards are based on the last hire entered into our school system. The Monroe County Board of Education and Administration appreciates the commitment, dedication, and loyalty of the following employees from Mary Persons High School and later in the program, our central office. We will be recognizing a total of 21 staff members tonight and 200 years of completed service in our school district. Monroe County Schools continues to recognize the importance of quality service from quality employees like you to the overall success of our students. Thanks to each of you for all that you do to ensure that the Monroe County school system continues to be one of the top performing systems in the state. As we call your name, please come up and accept your certificate and pen. We'd ask that you remain up front until all recipients have been recognized, and we'll take a photograph at that time. So, with 5 years of service for Mary Persons, Trey Bernard. Five years of service, Teresa Fields. Five years of service, Sharon Hayes. Five years of service, Stephanie Huff. 5 years of service, Arthur Jenkins. 5 years of service, Jill McCallum. 5 years of service, Chelsea Metcalf. 5 years of service, Michael Smallwood. 10 years of service, DJ Herm. 10 years of service, David Meeks. 10 years of service, Deborah Miller. 10 years of service, Mark Smith. 20 years of service, Rosalind Sparks. And finally, 25 years of service, Dwayne Evans.
See if we can get all together.
I'm playing.
Can you get on this Sunday?
Smile, everybody. Smile.
Cheese.
Thank you.
Good job, everybody. All right, at this time, we'll go to central office, and for our staff recognition, I'm going to call up Assistant Superintendent Jackson Daniel.
It's my pleasure to recognize and introduce one of our newer administrators, one of our younger administrators, but also an administrator who has made a name for himself. So Jake Davis, like Dr. Fitch, I want to have you stand up here while I talk about you, so I want everybody to see you. Next month will mark 3 years since Jake joined our school system as our transportation director. And I am hoping and praying that I don't jinx anything by saying this, because I have yet to see him, in my opinion, mad or angry or frustrated. If there's one quality that I see in Jake that I appreciate every day, it's that calm and even-keeled demeanor that he has. In his application to be transportation director, Jake stated that he had been in public school transportation his entire career, and it proved to be true. He started as a mechanic's assistant when he was fresh out of high school, became a licensed bus driver as soon as he was old enough to do so, and held several positions in the transportation department that he came from. In his interview, he told us he had a passion for school transportation, and he has shown us that through the things that he's done. In his 3 years, he's brought a professionalism that has elevated our transportation department to a higher level. He's had some adversity. There's been numerous inclement weather days, mornings and afternoon. There was some unanticipated turnover in staffing. And through all of that, he has just maintained a calm presence throughout and been a good leader. He's introduced some innovative aspects to the department, including the garage inventory system, GPS on school buses, a rider registration process. Just like this afternoon, when staff might be sick or maybe we've got too many field trips, he hops on the bus and runs a route. Whenever he needs to, he can turn a wrench in the garage too. What you may not know is that he's providing this leadership. He's serving as head of the Middle Georgia RESA Transportation Directors Cohort, and he is also a student working towards his master's degree. So Jake, for those reasons and many more, it's with a great deal of appreciation and on behalf of the administration of the school district, I want to thank you for all you do every day to support our system, our students, our staff, and our community. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. You have some special guests that you might want to introduce? Sure. Okay.
My parents are actually with me tonight. So my dad, he's actually a former principal. He's now the mayor of a small town named Mansfield. So he's back there. And my mom's also a retired teacher, and she's here as well.
Got it? Thanks, Jake.
Jake, I think you ought to get your parents and get a picture also.
We'll get one later.
All right. Years of service for our central office staff. We'll start with 5 years of service. Walter Ford. Come on up, Walter. Five years of service, Heather Peebles-Bradley. 5 years of service, Jarrett Scarborough. 10 years of service, Patty Bond Neesmith. 10 years of service, Roger Onstadt. 10 years of service coming from the other direction, Deidre Powers. And we saved the best for last. With 30 years of service, Sandy Caldwell.
I'm young for 30 years.
Yeah, that's what I was
I
saying.
started when I was 12.
42. She's 42.
Look this way, please. Good. Okay. Let's do another one. Here we go. Keep smiling.
Good to go. Congratulations, guys. So, we'll let you go to see it. We'll have the All right, this time, just so that people in the audience know, March for us is Board Appreciation Month, and it's celebrated throughout the state. And we want to recognize our board members tonight. And Ms. Elder's going to come up and do that recognition, and we've got a special basket up here for each of them.
All right, good evening. Tonight we want to let our board members know how much we appreciate the work they do. To honor their commitment and service to public education, we are presenting each board member with a piece of pottery made by our art students from Mary Persons High School. We are also presenting each board member with the book titled Building Great School Board Superintendent Teams, and this book was recommended to us by GSBA's Director of Professional Development, Tony Arasi. So we hope you enjoy the gifts that we have for you. And at this time, we would like to recognize each board member. We're going to start with Mr. J.P. Evans with 41 years of service. What about his birthday? Happy birthday, Mr. Evans.
Happy birthday. I call him this morning.
Mr. Nolan Howard with 28 years of service. Ms. Eva Bilderback with 13 years of service. Ms. Judy Pettigrew with 11 years of service. Mr. Stuart Pippin with 3 years of service. Dr. Priscilla Doster with 2 years of service. And Mr. Greg Head with 1 year of service. We hope you enjoy the gifts. You're going to take a look at the pottery. It's very, very special. We hope.
Before we're going to break for about 5 to 10 minutes before we resume our board meeting. I would ask that once everybody, we've got refreshments out in the hall and board members, I would ask if we could get a picture up here. I don't think, if you can bring the basket, I don't think that you don't have to bring the bag. So we'll just take a picture of the board up here with the assistant superintendents and myself, and then we'll go on to break. So thank y'all for coming. We got refreshments out there. We'll start back the board meeting in probably 10 minutes. Thank you. Y'all come on up, let's get a picture. We've got 2 people here to talk to us about a Chromebook initiative that we're looking at rolling out next year. We're excited about. And we've got Ronnie Shipman, our instructional technology coach, and I think they're going to tag team. Valerie's going to help Ronnie, and we're going to talk about a Chromebook initiative that we're going to try to roll out this summer.
Thank you for having me. We've been putting together this Chromebook initiative for quite a while. We wanted to make sure we had everything in place before we pushed it out. Chromebook is a laptop device operating Google's Chrome browser. It's basically everything we do with G Suite, Google Classrooms, everything that our teachers love and use. Most of the applications and documents are housed in the cloud. It's a quick startup time and a long battery life. It's been going the whole time, and I still have about 75% battery. I've been working on it all day. All the applications are monitored by Monroe County Schools.
Ready?
Yes, sir.
It's the best device or a device to prepare students for life after high school. Critical thinking, research, collaboration, adaptability, communication, and presentation. Has an online assessment capability. Teachers and students, and some of the teachers are back here now, are very familiar with it. They've been using it for 6 years now. Tech support is time effective and efficient, and provides students with a variety of textbooks, with most of the textbooks going online. So our goal is to start it with the class of 2024, so it'll be the 9th graders coming up. They'll be issued a district-owned Chromebook, and they'll be used to provide students with the tools, research, to collaborate and create. They'll take assessments using these devices, as they do already. We have a classroom set for most of, almost all at the high school and all at the middle school. And they have a built-in camera and microphone for distance learning if need be. One of the most popular things we pushed out this year has been NetRef, popular by the teachers, but not as popular by the students. Basically what NetRef does is a solution to kind of keep the students on task. It blocks them, it monitors their accounts, it locks them down to only what the teachers want them to use for their class. It just keeps them more focused on their work, and they can't look at things they don't need to be looking at when they can be working on their work. So teachers have the ability to basically monitor and control that device in class. With this being every student getting an mcschools.org account, that is the digital property of Monroe County Schools. So with that being said, accounts are monitored by NetRef in all grades 3 through 12. So anytime they're logged into their account, we have the ability to monitor.
When they're at home in the evenings, we can watch what they're doing there, as long as they're logged into their mcschools.org account, because that is the digital property. Okay.
We don't see, like camera, we don't see them physically, we see what's going on with the account, the activity.
You don't get to see any other pages they have pulled up on their home, you just get to see just that account.
If you're logged into that account and you're logged, then that's what you'll see. If there's somebody else logged into the browser, or if they're logged into a different browser, we're only watching what the mcschools.org account is doing. We're not watching what a Hotmail account or a Gmail or something like that is doing on the machine.
I'm wondering, you're seeing the page that they're looking at, right?
We are?
At home?
Yes.
Do you see any of the other open pages?
We are not seeing the other open pages as long as they are not associated with that mcschools.org account.
Okay, that's what I'm getting
Okay.
It only monitors the account.
at. Yeah, that's what I'm
Student and parent responsibilities. We want to put something out there that they have to bring it to school charged. Obviously, we're going to have a backup plan if they don't have it charged at school, so we take care of that. They need earbuds for their Chromebooks, and there can be $1 at Dollar Tree. Wireless mouse, or they can use those. That's something that they would have to purchase for that. We're looking at NetRef already monitors, and then MiFi cards for internet accessibility for the students that may not have internet service. But there are some MiFi cards that we would look at checking out so they can have a suitable internet to do their work at home.
And just to kind of follow up on that, we actually have a one-to-one. We've got enough devices for kids, but typically how we've done it is schools have basically ordered it by either department or grade. And so they'd have them in the room, and the kids use them when they go to math class, and we're trying to try something a little different, is giving the kids the ability to have it. Now, the thing that it's going to help us with is down the road, is when we talk about alternative learning days and the ability to do some things more at home and have the ability to access, because right now, if we had the ability, say if we had an alternative learning day, whether it be for what we're dealing with now with coronavirus, or actually a true weather day, if the kids, had a device and they had a card and they could access the internet, you see, you got a lot more capability than the way we do it now. Because right now, if we do it, when we did the 8th grade, we had about 80% that said they had it. And I would suspect that's probably about right. So probably about 20% of our students don't have active Wi-Fi. That would be pretty much from what I know. And so this would allow them an opportunity to do that, help us grow online resources, and help them. Bottom line is, it'll be some growing pains, because typically we've given them to them and then taken them back up. And so, but I think how we roll it out and how we explain it to parents is probably the most important thing. And then talking about, the insurance that you can purchase to cover most things that would happen to it other than theft, I think. Ronnie, I think you probably took over there too quick.
You're good, you're good. We're gonna make it where they can only log in with their mcschools.org account. So that's something else we're working on. This next slide is actually already in the schools already. It's been there for a number of years. Actually, when I first got this job, that's one of the first things I created, put into all the schools. But what we have the right to do is a system what the parents are responsible for and what the school has the responsibilities to do. So that just kind of covers us in case something was to happen. This is actually a prototype of one of the cases that we were kind of looking at. You see it folds, it's got a strap, everything. This is just a sample. So it would kind of keep it secure. They could take it wherever they need to with them. And it does have a place, a little thing in the back, in case they had a MiFi card, it'd be a one-stop shop for them.
And just so y'all know, I think based on what Ronnie told it, probably for the whole thing you're looking at, it's probably about $300.
$300.
So for a cohort, we typically have around 300, so you can do the quick math.
What's the lifespan on one?
Lifespan for a Google device is about 4.5 to 5 years. And so we purchased that, that will span them that 9th grade through 12th grade year with that device. The warranty on it would be for 4 years as well. So we also would have a cache of screens as well. You want to take us to the next screen, Dr. Hickman? That's just a sample of the Chrome bags, and the one that Ronnie's using today is one that Clark County Schools actually uses. So they have good feedback from them for that. Take us to the next one.
So families can purchase inland marine insurance, which does not cover theft. There's some that do. There's Cadillac versions of different types of insurance, but we want something that's going to be affordable to all families. So we would offer that policy, but wouldn't be directly involved with it. Family may pay the replacement cost of the parts of the entire device. Some systems work out volunteerism plans for replacement where they can do service hours. This is just throwing out some ideas. If they want to work, pick up trash or something, we can do something like that, and that will work out, cover the cost. Corporate sponsors to defer cost, and we'll train the freshman staff in basic tech support as I do already. The tech team will provide backup devices, so it's they leave them at home or it's not fully charged. We have something that's a backup plan. Media center personnel will provide charging stations and cleaning materials for the Chromebooks and handbook for students and families.
So our model is based on Tift County Schools in South Georgia, which has been doing this for several years. And then Coweta County Schools over in Noonan has done this for several years. And then they felt it was best to start with high school freshmen so that they could learn with the device and grow through their high school years. But also it will give us an opportunity to consider it for middle school as well in the coming years.
So our next steps are to continue planning with the Married Persons Administration and set up an optional parent opportunity for inland marine insurance and type of insurance opportunity.
I just wondering, with these other systems that we've modeled after, do they have a figure of how many units they lose in a year's time? Is it
Sure. So Clark County, for instance, let's take Central High School at Clark Central High School in Athens has less than 7% that they replace on a year. That's a much bigger school. They also have learned to go visit the local pawn shop, and they go pick up some there. But we don't anticipate that. We've done a lot of work with our kids with teaching them how to take care of their devices. And then we've also taught our teachers some things. We haven't, my team replaces screens and we replace keyboards. But we don't actually have them do those kinds of things. But they can do some diagnosing, and we've taught them how to do a little bit of maintenance, and we'll continue to do that.
Any other systems have a buy program where if you graduate, could you buy your, or is it just sort of, it's sort of.
Once you graduate, you buy it?
I mean, it's sort of run out of its life expectancy.
It will have run out of its life expectancy by then. Google does that on purpose. Because it's a device that's less than $179, and we could go find a biology textbook.
If they made a
that's
Google
about
Chromebook that
$179.
lasted for 12 years, they couldn't sell as many, right?
Right, so we're constantly seeing them sunset and then turn around and have to be replaced. But that Google license only goes for X amount of time.
What we need to go to anyway. So I just wanted to, they worked real hard, and obviously we want to try to see how this works out, but isn't it ironic that years ago we had lots of textbooks, so every kid had like 6 textbooks, and they had maybe a computer at school in a lab that they would use. Now we have sets of textbooks in the class, and then we do everything else with the Chromebook that you carry home. It's flipped. But I think it could be better. It would be easier for kids to have not to carry around so much stuff. We think that it will work. We budgeted for it, so we just wanted to tell you all about it.
And the kids keep it over the summer?
Kids would not keep it over the summer. My team and I are going to need some time to be able to maintain them, make certain that operating systems are up to date, clean them up. That's one of the things that we do in the summertime with teacher devices, so we would add these 400 devices for students to the cache that we already.
We've left for punishment, right? But we'll know quick. So we'll be back with you with some updates on how that's going. But Ronnie and Valerie, I thank y'all for trying to look outside the box and provide opportunity for the kids.
Thank you. All right. Organizational, if I can say that correctly, effectiveness, personnel action.
Okay, we've presented some personnel actions on the blue sheet. We would recommend approval of those tonight, please.
Actions on the issue.
Dr. Goss made the motion that we approve the actions, personnel actions as recommended, and seconded by Mr. Evans.
Yeah.
Any discussion? Being none, all in favor signify by raising your hand, and that is unanimous. A financial report.
All right, can y'all see that well enough? Get your computers. Tell me where you want it, Chris.
That's good for right now. Want to draw your attention to that, the top part where it's got our local revenue. It shows that we have received 96.3% of our budget already for this year. That's a good sign. We should go over our budget, which is a good thing on the revenue side. Not so good on the expense side, but it's a good thing on the revenue side.
Got more taxes than
The taxes are coming in fairly strong this year, so that is a good thing.
All of the utilities have been paid, I'm sure.
Yes, yes. We're up to date on all of our bills and.
No, I'm talking about utilities, the utility tax dollars.
Utility companies, yes, they have paid their taxes for the year, so we won't be receiving any more big checks unless there's something that we don't know about.
These are stragglers. They've appealed it or something. I don't know.
There's usually, this time of the year going forward, we'll take up, $100,000 to $200,000 per month. So, but we'll exceed our budget for FY20. The expenditures are pretty much in line with where they need to be for the time of the year. A few of them are a little bit over on percentage-wise, but not a whole lot of money dollar-wise. If you scroll down, I've also included the capital projects. Had a little bit of a shock this month when I looked to see what our SPLOST was. It was down considerably, about $100,000 less than what it's been running. It was $350,000. From what we understand, Georgia Power and Plant Share had stockpiled coal. I guess they didn't want people seeing those rail cars coming in so frequently. So obviously they didn't purchase much coal for the month of February. But we're still doing well with our SPLOST funds for the year. And I've also included at the bottom of that page our federal funds, which includes school food and our title programs, just for your information. Is there any questions?
Can you, look at the question I asked you about the fuel, the
yeah.
difference in last year and this year?
I looked, Mr. Daniel asked me about the difference in the fuel being almost double, and I went back and looked. That number for February 2019 only had 3 months of fuel bills, because that was when the county was just starting to get their stuff in line and you know, up to date. Whereas the one for 20 has 6 months worth. So when I ran the detail for the FY19 year, in March of last year, I think we paid 4 or 5 months worth all at once, because they were catching up. Since then, they're getting our bills every month and we're paying them every month. So, like I said, everything's paid up and current.
That's good.
Good. We're in a good place right now.
Any questions? Anything, anybody need to see anything else? Thank you, Chris. All right.
Board policy review.
Yeah, last week we talked about, the last meeting, we talked about going through our board policies and starting with board member section. We kind of started this before, but going through here and just basically for those things that had dates of older dates on them, we wanted to go through there, and those that we could real quickly agree that we're continuing to do that. We really didn't need to change anything other than the date, that we would approve it as a board tonight, and then all we do is change the date, and it gives you a more current date as we've reviewed those policies. So as we do that, there may be some we have to do, but I don't think we really needed to do anything with these policies. The ones that we talked about were board officer method of election, board officers and goals and objectives. So just to review your BA was the education of children is one of the, this is just talking about what we do. It's one of the most important responsibilities of society, is the general responsibility of the community, and the specific responsibility of the Monroe County Board of Education to provide at least the minimum physical facilities, equipment, staff, and services necessary to support an educational program which will operate effectively and provide educational opportunities that will enable each child to develop commensurate with his abilities, So I think it kind of fits for what we do in public education. That's basically where that was taken from.
I think since 1972 it's worked.
It's worked. I think it's worth more than that. Jackson mentioned something about in 1919 one time. We were talking about you'd pull something from the legislature.
Right.
And it was pretty on point with what we do now.
Yeah.
All right, BBA is board officers. It says the officers of the Monroe County Board of Education shall be a chairman and vice chairman. The superintendent shall serve as executive secretary of the board and as the administrative officer of the Monroe County school system. All it does is just identify who are in those roles. The final one was BBAA, board officer method of election. And it says the chairperson and vice chairperson shall be elected to serve as board office for 2-year periods. Remember that was, we talked about that. On those years when the election of board officers is necessary, the election shall always be held at the first meeting in January. If an office should become vacant for any reason, the board shall elect a replacement at the next regularly scheduled board meeting. Officers shall at all times be elected by a majority vote of the members. Discussion may occur in executive session. Voting shall be an open meeting and all votes shall be recorded. And that's just from state law, basically. You remember the 2-year period came from the charter we had. Do y'all remember our discussion? That came from, we were talking about doing it every year, but it's 2 years based on that. And we'd had to go to the legislature to change that. So these are just low-hanging fruit that we could get updated. And if you want to do that, approve that tonight, I'll change the date on that. And then we'll pick 3 more at the next meeting to kind of go through and look at. So I would ask that we recommend just updating these policies at this time. Nothing's been changed.
Move to approve the 3 policies to update them.
Motion by second by motion by Mr. Pitt, second by Mr. Pitt. I didn't know if you heard me. All right. Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor signify by raising your hand, and that is also unanimous.
All right. The next item is approval of additional positions. Last meeting, we kind of laid out because of the numbers in the district and with some of our special needs that we had at middle school and at high school, the need for some more additional positions for our kids for next year. And one of the things that we talked about was trying to get these teachers hired, because right now it's hiring season and it's happening now. Typically we do our budget process in April, and we actually don't approve a budget until late June, and so we can't wait that late to try to get these folks and have teachers, because we just won't be able to find them. So we wanted to ask for recommendation of those positions, and we did stratify them out in case you wanted to amend the recommendation, because obviously we got to have teachers in the classroom for these kids. So there's the teaching positions. There's 5 K through 5 teachers. There's 2 at T.G. Scott, 2 at Katie Sutton, and 1 at Hubbard. And then there will be 4 special needs teachers. There will be 2 co-teach positions. We went over it last meeting at the middle school based on those 2. We needed 2 segments more, which would call for 2 teachers. 1 pull-out resource for Mary Persons High School, and 1 access teacher at high school. And then the instructional support positions that we talked about was the literacy coach to help with birth through 12th grade literacy, and that work with our students and with the community. We had talked about a diagnostician where we basically recruit a person to work with our psychologist that's going to retire next year, that we teach them how to do that, and they actually earn certification through being on the job and working for us. And then the final one was a school level position of the Katie Sutton assistant principal, and we talked about the numbers have been increased over time from probably 490. Well, Alicia, what year was that?
That was 4 years ago.
And now we're up to 620, 630. And so typically when we got to around that happy number of around 650, you need help. And they've been, think about KB Sutton, if they've been in that range for a couple of years, and they just need some help. They got a lot of youngins over there, and it's a lot of staff, and to do the evaluations, and we don't have anybody but Miss Brown and Miss Benz. We did a 5 whys and there were some things that we looked at, and basically they need help. And so that's why we recommended these. So we put them out like that in case you wanted to, amend the recommendation. We're fine, but we do need to get after those teaching positions. They really need to be posted now. So I'll let y'all discuss that before making a recommendation as it relates to those. I mean, what I'm saying is if we needed to wait on some of the positions later, we could do that, but I'm more concerned with those teaching positions and the school level positions as well. So. We 4,000. You were talking about the figure of kids.
No.
Oh, we said that we felt like with the whole gamut here, based on the mid-level, that would say a mid-level person with experience would be about $900,000 to $950,000 for the whole pack. That's all benefits and everything.
How much of that would be local money versus state?
Typically, when the state allots for that, typically we pay about locally probably 55% of that. And the thing here, when we do this, we'll get the money, but it will be later, because when your kid population goes up, you have to hire more people, and then it trails you because you get it from the FTE from the previous year. So that's the only thing that we're a little wary of. We think we're going to be fine, but it is what it is, and it's this extra people that we got to have.
Are you saying, are we gonna have to raise the millage?
Jackson, you want to speak to that? I mean, I can't promise that we wouldn't.
I mean, it's very speculative. There's a lot of flux going on with the state right now on what level of funding we're going to get. Governor recommended $2,000 raise, which would have, given us X number of dollars. We could kind of calculate. Today, we found out that legislative leadership have lowered that to $1,000. So you cut in half whatever that would be at this point. We do know we would earn funding for these positions, but there would be a lag, so we would have to fund them. What does that mean with millage? It has a lot to do with how much growth is in the digest. It has a lot to do with the calculations for the 5 mil share, and those are calculations we won't see for a while. So, I think the best answer I can give you is we assume that we would probably have to do all of this locally, but as the budget plays out and as the digest plays out, we make the adjustments that we would need. So we never go into a budget with the intent we're going to raise the millage, but we can't promise what the impact would be. Are we going to have to fund all of this with a millage? No. I think there will be growth in the digest. I think there will be growth in the state funding.
Would the mid-year adjustment, would that help out any?
Possibly. And we're in a waiting mode on that too. Even though they finished the supplemental budget, we have not seen that allotment sheet yet that shows that. But yes, that's a potential help. So that's sort of an indication of what our funding for next school year is going to look like.
And we got to have all those positions?
Yes, well, we recommend we've got to have the teaching position. Right.
But I said we got to have.
The got to have, if you had not, that's Dr. Hickman, we've got to have those teaching positions, and we got to have that administrative position. We could do without those, we'd like to have those other positions, but those are the most critical.
Anyone that you can do without, let's do that.
Yeah, maybe we can implement some this year and some next year?
Knowing
Maybe.
The situation with special ed, if we don't do the diagnostician, we're probably going to pick it up through contract services at some point, because there's just a caseload that can't be met at this point. So, so there's a real possibility that, that would be an if and. I mean, if we don't do that, we would probably seek contract employees and pay a contract fee rather than a salary.
Sometime in your spare time, look at that again and make sure you're not requesting something that we could do with that.
We've already done, Mr. Edwards, we've already done that. We took the numbers, and Ms. Elder, we met with the principals and looked at all the student populations that we got in building right now. And when they roll up, we're asking for what we're gonna have to have.
You concluded these jobs that are needed based on student population or workload on the employees?
Student population. There's certain numbers we typically try to, we've got those, we talked about it in the meeting last week about what's recommended by the DOE, and then we have a waiver to go over that, but we don't want to really go over those numbers because we don't have too many in the classes, because it becomes overwhelming for our teachers.
So I love the numbers.
Yeah, we try to stay, when we look at elementary numbers, we don't ever have it depends on the grade level to what the number is. So like in kindergarten, typically we're looking at 21, I think is the number. 22, and if you get more than that in there, you can't, it's hard to teach class.
The presentation from last meeting is attached. It has all those numbers in there if you want to revisit that.
Chris, do we have $950K in our budget to fund this right now?
in the current year's budget, no. But like Mr. Daniel said, we're looking at next year. We don't have a digest. We don't have the allotment sheets. We don't know what our funding level is going to be.
Do you have an anticipation? You're the numbers guy, you're the, what do you think?
I mean, we base everything based on this year with some assumptions, okay, so.
Well, the fact that our tax revenue is more than what we budgeted for, that tells me that there's growth in the digest. We just don't know what that's gonna be for next year.
Cause you're talking about local funds are gonna fund 55% of this, you're
Normally,
talking about
typically,
$500,000, so $500 million.
if you've got a, the way the state's funded and local, typically for a physician, that's how it breaks out.
I mean, I don't negate that we don't, I think we do need these positions. The issue is, I don't wanna go hiring somebody when we can't budget for it, and we can't pay them. You know, that, or we gotta take out a 10 and it costs us more and more money, we have to extend all that out over time. But, I'm sure.
I mean, this is an issue like we haven't had to deal with because we haven't had a population increase in a long time.
I know.
Long time.
And so, but as a superintendent, I'm just telling the board, we're gonna need these, and probably gonna need more because of the population that's coming into Monroe County. And the problem is, I don't wanna be, you know, the more we wait on it, you know, we're not gonna be able to give, we won't be able to give an official budget until June. So we keep doing this meeting after meeting, and all those good candidates that we met down there that we really need to go ahead and hire, they're being hired right around us as we're speaking. So my job as superintendent is to put out the plate what we need, and the student population, Ms. Elder went through it. We've done it as tight as we can do it, you know, based on the numbers that we can have in those classes, because we don't need to, you know, we've been a good school district, a high-achieving school district, because we've taken care of making sure that we didn't have too many kids in classes, and that teachers have the ability to teach. And I don't want to change that, where we start, you know, we have a way where we can have, in a 4th grade class, we can have up to 30 kids. Yeah, but I just don't think that's optimum for a teacher. And so that's why we don't recommend it. So these were based on the same numbers we've always used. So there's nothing new.
But the new part is the additional students.
Right.
The diagnostician, would that eventually fade out, or would there?
She would actually, she would be here to work, and basically what they would kind of be on here to work and learn how to be, and go to school to be, to do the testing. So they can still do the job because we'll get them certification to do the testing, but once they're complete, then they can actually replace them as one of our school psychologists. And do that. Yeah, we need to because of the number of testing we do for special needs and gifted and different things.
And you know, our special needs population has grown. And y'all, we are 9th in the state. And if we want to remain 9th in the state or be better, we're going to have to quit worrying about the money as our #1 thing.
If you go up on the millage, you're gonna have to go up on my pay.
But the people,
Because I'm
the
retired.
people in this county love these schools. And that's why other people are coming here, it's because of our schools.
But we also have to.
And if we, I just don't see tying this up with just money. I mean, it's not gonna hurt to raise the millage a 0.5% or whatever. I mean, we are at what, 15 something now?
15.6.
So what if we get up to 15.9999?
What is the exact figure?
15.66, ain't it?
667, I believe,
But the
15.667.
county's not gonna hate us.
Sure about that?
I mean, you know,
Got a lot of people that are retired.
I'm one of them, and I pay school taxes, I pay a lot of school taxes.
You don't mind paying, do you?
But, no, I don't. I don't mind paying school taxes. I've never minded paying school taxes. I mean, we're producing people that are gonna rule. Those kids, y'all, it's crazy to
to think on this on money. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be so vocal,
Well,
it's just,
one of the big issues is we don't know. That is true every year.
every year.
Then you come down to this time of year and trying to fill vacancies before, we all around this table know there's a teacher shortage.
And the thing, we won't know in April.
Yeah, and we
won't know in May.
We won't know, and you just,
We do this every year.
And typically, we haven't had to add so many. But a lot of these school districts that go through this, it happens a lot, like the ones that are really growing, like the bigger they just, it's part of what they have to do. But I just felt like I gotta put it out there because I don't want us to, in June be coming back, because what I'm saying is, these are to fill what we need now. Like we got for pre-K, we're done filling spots. So what I'm saying is, what if the K goes over like we had like this year, which it could happen? Because our elementary schools are getting more in them.
You get more subdivisions, a couple more subdivisions
Well,
coming in
yeah,
too.
yeah. So I just want to make sure we're taking care of our kids. That's my job as superintendent, is to put in front of you what I feel like we need to do that, and do it in a frugal way that we can, and we're not being wasteful, and we just didn't put the information for new people out there just because we wanted it based on numbers. And we work very hard to work through that, because we definitely don't want to, ask for something we don't need.
Sure. I definitely see the need for it. It's just, you say don't worry about the money, but, I see the need for it, but it does come down to money, and it comes down to the taxpayer, and we're gonna put the bill for, we all wanna do that. I'm willing to do it, even when my kids didn't go to school, I'm gladly pay it, and that's fine too. But let's,
we're gonna have to pay taxes regardless.
that's fine. I see the need, and
I move that we approve the recommendation that Mike has brought to us. I make that motion.
no motion. Here's a second. Seconded by Dr. Austin. Okay, we've had discussion, and this motion is for the entire recommendation, including
Yes.
diagnostician,
Yes.
and the assistant principal, and the
Literacy
literary coach.
coach and the teachers.
I just think they've all been justified, all these positions have been justified.
We did have, like all meeting was last week, was justification.
Justification of all these positions.
Okay. Well, all in favor of following superintendent's recommendation, and with the teaching positions, the instructional positions, and the administrative position, all in favor signify by raising your hand. Okay. So it's unanimous. What do you mean? I think the teachers of Monroe County should be appreciated.
Thank y'all.
I think we need. I think we can count on our business folks to try to prevent any major calamity as results of our motion.
apparently Judy Pettigrew's plea has turned the hearts and minds.
I'm gonna miss her.
Sometimes I think we get hung up on the wrong thing.
No, it's just
Okay.
worth saying, that's it.
Approved. All right, next on the agenda we have, put my glasses back on, we're gonna talk about coronavirus.
All right, just for,
Not don't say corona.
all right, just to talk to y'all a little bit about up-to-date information, and that may change, it probably has changed in this meeting, but we did get information today regarding the state of Georgia, and that's what we're trying to follow real closely. Right now, we've got 4 counties that have confirmed cases in the state of Georgia. That's Fulton County, Floyd County, Polk County, and Cobb County. And like I said, that could have changed since I got this today. Presumptive cases were 11, and those included the counties of Fulton, Cobb, Fayette, DeKalb, Gwinnett, and Cherokee. And basically, the information that I've sent out 2 letters in Monroe Messages each time to kind of keep our parents and community abreast of what we're getting from a lot of different areas. And we're getting information from Department of Education in Atlanta. We're getting information from Department of Health. We're getting information from Centers of Disease Control. and we're trying to share that. And we are sharing all that information on our website, and we're actually got links on the website to take you to all the things that I just said. The main thing is just being educated about what we're doing as a system. And basically from the Department of Health, they're still recommending the things that would keep any type sickness or illness from transferring, and that's make sure you wash your hands often. When you do it for 20 seconds. Avoid touching eyes, nose, and mouth with unwashed hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Staying home when you're sick. We've actually had coronaviruses. I know everybody's anxious about that. We've actually had more sickness with the flu, strep throat, and just colds over the season. We've actually tracked it. We've had a lot of staff and students out for that. So we've had a reason to make sure that we have kept our tabletops wiped down, we wipe the buses down, make sure doorknobs are wiped off and sanitized, and making sure we're doing all those things that we need to do to be proactive in trying to keep infection and virus from spreading here. So that is the latest on what we're doing as a system. Again, I met with the Board of Health last night, and right now, even though we have these individual cases, we don't have what we call a community outbreak yet. So basically, there are a few that the numbers are so low that they feel like that they can quarantine those individuals at home or in hospital, and then everybody else will have the ability to travel and do what they need to do without worrying about it. That could change tomorrow, depending on what particular communities and the number of cases that they have. I know that everybody heard about the Fulton County. They had a teacher in Fulton County that tested positive, and that teacher worked at 2 middle schools. And they released that school and the high school that was associated with those 2 middle schools when they found out about it. And then later, the superintendent did a press conference, and they basically closed schools for today, right? Basically to take a step back and see what they needed to do and to clean the facilities where those folks were at. And basically, I think we said that they
Mainly closed tomorrow.
Mainly closed tomorrow, so we'll hear more about that later. But on that front, Richard Woods, who is our state school superintendent, and he had a press conference today with people from the governor's office and the Department of Health that said that they would want to look at each individual case and wouldn't look to just close a school district without more information. Apparently, they want it to be more collaborative when making those decisions. And I've met with our school system has met with the county, the city, the Board of Health, the hospital. We've helped North Central Health District. We talked with them last night out of Macon. And so anything that would be determined in our school district, if we had a situation, we would use all of those entities to come together with the board to make a decision as it relates to the safety of our kids. So I just wanted to put that out because we don't know what tomorrow will hold. And we're trying to do everything we can to be safe, and we'll continue to do that. I know everybody's very anxious about something that's new for us, and we're trying to do the best we can about educating and making sure that everybody's understanding what we're doing as a school system. So, board members, do y'all have any specific questions? Like I said, it changes from hour to hour, and I try to keep everybody in our school system updated. The Department of Education has done a really good job about keeping us updated. They're sending things. As a matter of fact, we get it duplicate because we get it from all of them sending the same type things. But we're trying to stay on top of it. It is something that's very new to us as a school system, and but we're trying to do the best we can and trying to use our protocols, and at the end of the day, using common sense. And I think that goes a long way. So
this is just a practical standpoint. Do we have enough stockpile, or are we having trouble getting the cleaning supplies we need?
Good question.
Whatever.
Good question.
We have what we have been able to get. We have adequate for now. If this goes on another 2 months, there may be some problems, but right now we have adequate. We kind of saw this coming and stocked up. The items that we stocked up on are things we use every day anyway, and they're not going to go away. So, we haven't stockpiled, but we did bring our stock to where it would be, yes. Extras that we did, we bought small containers of hand sanitizer for every school bus. And we have told the drivers, do not throw those containers away because you can't buy any more, so we refill. We did buy the gallon refills. And so we've done that, Clorox wipes, Lysol, all of those things. Buses are being cleaned on a daily basis. Classrooms are being stepped up. This office, outside door handles, cleaned 2 or 3 times a day. And
I had a sickness and I think y'all fumigated them out. I didn't have that
absolutely.
coronavirus.
They tried to get you a bubble when you came back to work.
I was coughing, they thought I had coronavirus.
You know, again,
We have enough.
We do.
we got enough for the, we got enough for the time being, but, you know, again,
But
our suppliers have
as this thing
said.
evolves, that could change.
That's right.
That could change, and it's like the mask, you know, right now they don't recommend wearing a mask unless you're sick or in an area like a medical facility that you would need to do that. So we're following all the guidance that we're getting, we're trying to follow it to a T, but that changes, and I just want to keep y'all abreast of that. And if there are questions that y'all get, please ask us. We have contacts. I called somebody today down in Macon to ask them a question about you know, some of the questions that we ask, because the places that we can accept in from and send to are change on that list. And right now, basically the 2 places that are no-fly are China and Iran, I think, right this second. So there's a lot coming in and out of the country that's not necessarily being vetted as such. So it's concerning.
Need to make sure we have our hand sanitizer under lock and key, because it's going.
If Perel was a stock, it would probably be up right now, but it's not a stock.
No, it's privately owned.
It's not a stock. It's privately owned company. All right, anything else? Any questions? Everybody good? All right.
All right, ensuring high-quality professional learning, board CIP.
You know what that acronym is?
Continuous improvement.
Continuous improvement.
Right. So if you'll take a look at our board plan, April the 1st is the deadline that I have to submit our application to be recognized as an exemplary board for Georgia School Boards Association.
From the summer GSBA, right?
That's right, for this summer, what is it, June, that first weekend in June is when the recognition will take place. So you'll see in the plan that we've been using all year, every time that we would meet one of the criteria, I would put the date that it was completed. So one thing that I have to do today is quickly go over and let you know what I have evidence for. And I've created Google folders that I have to provide links for and upload to GSBA by April the 1st. And I plan to do it at the end of this week and not the 1st of next week, in case there are any hiccups or anything with the connectivity or whatever, as far as connecting the links and everything. We'll make sure they work. So with strategic planning, I have to make sure that I have a link to our system strategic plan and the location of the district site, which I've completed that already. Also have to provide a link to balanced scorecards from each school and location on district site. I've completed that, so you see the date, that was back in September. For the Georgia Vision Project, I have to provide the list of the 15 Vision Project recommendations that are incorporated into our plan. So all of those are noted in our continuous improvement plan, and you can see those. We have at least 15, if not more. That was completed back in August. For assessment, we all completed the self-assessment whenever we met on January the 29th. We recently, on March the 4th, held the exemplary committee, where we had Ms. Bilderback, Dr. Doster, and Ms. Pettigrew attend with community members. They completed the self-assessment. And so I have to actually upload that assessment, the scoring, and any recommendations. There were no recommendations given. Basically, there were just some notes regarding the steps that we take as a school board. So that was completed. You turn or scroll down. Then I wanted to include in here just the action steps that we put in place last January that we continue to complete for this school year. The superintendent's evaluation, we have to provide the latest evaluation instrument that was used for Dr. Hickman's evaluation. We completed that because it was last, well, the instrument was basically last year's, but you take off the ratings. For local board training, I have to provide a link to the list of all board members with the title of the program, the instructor, and the date of everyone verifying the credits that you've earned. We have to fulfill at least 12 credit hours per person and document those courses. This will be completed
Yeah, that's me.
by Thursday, right?
Well, I would miss the all-day training session in the fall, so.
Right, so he is doing a makeup for us, school board chair training. So we will be good to go after.
All the rest of us.
I will be there.
Yeah, we've surpassed it. So I know a couple of you are attending the training for mental health on Thursday, youth mental health first aid on Friday. I think 2 of you are. But that just added to your hours because you were already above the hours anyway. I do have a copy of all of your hours that I am submitting. Ms. Bilderback, 28 hours this year.
Whoa.
Dr. Doster, 22.
Wow. No, now you can talk raise.
That's good.
You can talk
Mr. Evans,
raise now,
15.
28 hours.
Mr. Head, 15.
Dang, that might be right.
Mr. Howard, it'll be 15 after Thursday. Ms. Pettigrew, 15. And Mr. Pippin, 21.
Good job.
Okay.
We're gonna get enough, we'll get some big shoot. We'll get another one.
What is the balance on top of that?
I don't know.
So we keep a notebook of all the training that you do. So whenever we're ever audited, we have all this stuff. We also have electronic files
All
that I
this has to
have to.
be submitted.
It's a lot of work. I just want y'all
It
to
is a lot of
realize.
work. And
It's
Ms.
a lot of
Miller does a
work
great job of doing
to
that.
get this.
And y'all do a great job of doing the
It's a
professional
lot.
learning that needs to be done.
For board member ethics, I have to make sure that we provide the latest local school board governance training report. That includes the training that you all have received and your signatures. Also, I have to include our ethics policy. I have completed all that. The fiscal responsibility, I have to provide the latest balanced budget and the annual budget calendar, which that was completed. And that's it. So, I'm just want to be very careful that we have everything that we need before I hit send on that. So I want to show you a copy. That also outlines all the board training that will take place this year. We still have our April board training that we do. And it's okay that we put those dates as completed whenever we upload our hours because it runs through June for credit hours. So it's okay that we do that. So if you'll look at the next link, it'll show you the exemplary board application. Because I have to put today, I want to recommend that that we do shoot for exemplary board because we will meet all the requirements. That is our recommendation, but I have to put today's date. It has to be approved by the board that we all agree that we've met the requirements.
All right, somebody want to
At the
make
very, very
recommendation?
end.
Wait a minute, Nolan had it.
But remember I said by June.
I
By
make a
June.
motion that we apply for the board recommendation having met everything by June.
That's right, that's right.
And I will promise that I will be at this meeting on Thursday.
Hey, no pressure.
No.
We will find a session of some sort if something happens and someone's sick. In April.
Another trophy?
Yes.
Alternative learning. It's different than that.
We've got a motion, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Pippin. All right, all in favor, signify by raising your hand.
What was the motion?
Well, we'll come back.
If we apply for exemplary,
It was a lot of conversation, you're right. If we apply for exemplary,
Board.
say the, I can say
Exemplary board.
exemplary status for our board.
same thing we got that trophy for.
We're gonna get us another trouble.
We met the requirements, Mr. Evans. We're good.
All right, all in favor, signify by raising your hand. There we go. Okay, all right, we're good. Good?
All right, and the last thing that I wanted to make sure I addressed, so based on our January in-service, work session, we had to create action steps based upon our self-assessment. So I created this document, and these are just some action steps that we all agreed on, and a timeline, for us to work on them from this past January to January 21. Okay? These are all the things that we discussed as agreed. We'll continue to work on those.
Very good.
A lot of work, a lot of work.
A lot of work by
You did
everybody.
everybody. You did the work with the self-assessment and the discussion.
The paperwork's more work.
It's a lot of paperwork.
But putting it together and dotting all the i's and
Yeah.
crossing all the t's for community.
Well, thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you.
absolutely.
I enjoyed doing that.
Oh, there you go.
You don't have to lie. It's okay.
I do enjoy it. I do. It's my job. I enjoy making sure we get recognition. I do enjoy checking it off. That's right. Making sure it's done right.
Thank you. Thank you, Nan.
All right, with summer GSBA, we know we've got the delegates sent in. Priscilla is the main delegate, the alternate, Judy.
I guess, yeah.
You want to tell us about your responsibility?
I was invited to be on the Governmental Operations Committee, which will be the committee that makes the recommendations for the delegates to vote on.
All right.
I don't
Meeting
know
next year,
I don't know exactly what that means, but
What?
I don't know exactly all the details.
As for being there when we do the approval, it would be helpful to know what the process was ahead of it. I'll say that from being there. So that's probably something we need to do. So is anybody else other than, just make sure if you're planning on going, and Deidre, what's the date on that? Is it 4th? It's different a little bit than it has been. I think even you had a problem with,
Yeah, I'll be in California at my grandson's.
typically like the
Second week.
and it's the first, it's a Friday to Saturday. And so if you're interested in attending there, I will go and be there. And typically, this is the one where we receive the wage to do it in the winter. But they do it now in the summer. So depending on what your schedule is, if you're able to make it and you want us to put, I can tell you.
Well, you have to go down on the fourth.
So Friday and
Go to
Saturday.
class on the
Is it
fourth.
Friday and Saturday or Thursday?
Well, they have class on Thursday,
That we
right?
do.
So if you wanna go to a class
That's right.
to get some hours,
Pre,
you
it's the
have to go
pre-service.
Wednesday night.
Pre-conference
Yeah.
is on Thursday, and the actual conference starts Friday, and then it finishes Saturday morning. So that's the,
So that was the winter one that you didn't, that we had a little bit early, that changed the date.
Yeah, they didn't do that.
They did Thursday and Friday.
Yeah.
so if you're interested and want us to, we'll be at the Hyatt, we hope.
Pretty nice place for this.
Well, the Hyatt, the problem is that Hyatt's not, I wish they'd do it somewhere else, but they do it at the, I guess they, and typically, we have to be on there, and the problem is, we may get one person there, that's, I hate that. All right, everybody good with that? Reminders, Jackson, you wanna talk about reminders real quick?
Sure. Get where I can see them.
Big night Friday.
All right, yep. So coming up Friday is the David Phelps concert. We're right around 600 tickets and selling more every day. So we're probably going to be 650 to 700. Getting a lot of calls about, well, can I buy them at the door if I can make it? So, and then Friday, Saturday, of course, for Cynthia Festival. Next Thursday and Friday, the 19th and 20th, KB Sutton will be doing the Wizard of Oz, and they've been in rehearsal starting this week and all next week. It'll be wonderful as always. The Achievement Center is doing their 5K road race Fit to Achieve on Saturday the 21st. We have an elementary band concert on the 24th. Special Olympics on the 27th at the high school track. Spring holidays, the week of the 6th. And then the next meeting we have is the 14th that will include Teacher of the Year recognition. So a lot going on. And April and May will be just as busy.
All right, full meeting.
Is that all?
Get some paperwork.
Yes.
Evening.
All right, motion to adjourn from Ms. Bilderback, second. Mr. Evans. I got you.
Thank y'all. We appreciate you. Board appreciate